In 2014, I went to an archaeological site called Izapa, and I was walking around with the archaeologist who was excavating there, and she pointed out a particular monument that she said that a lot of Mormon tourists came to visit because they felt that it represented a scene from the Book of Mormon. And I was stunned. I mean, I just thought that was very strange and really interesting, and it led me down this whole rabbit hole of Mormon interests in archaeology in Mesoamerica. I'm Lizzie Wade, and I'm a contributing correspondent for Science Magazine. So what sort of the point that everyone knows about the Book of Mormon is that after Jesus' death and resurrection, he appears to inhabitants of the Americas. But actually there's thousands of years of history around that, sort of centering on these different tribes that come from the Near East, the Nephites and the Lamanites. The Book of Mormon has some sort of vague references to geography. It talks about an isthmus. It talks about a major river. So people have, looked for correspondences between that geography and the geography of the real world. And a lot of people believe that this narrow isthmus that's discussed in the Book of Mormon is the Isthmus of Tehuantepec, which is the narrow part of Mexico. And particularly of interest here is the state of Chiapas, which is the southernmost state of Mexico. So after I went to Izapa and found out that there was Mormon interest in the archaeology of southern Mexico, I just kept asking archaeologists about it. I eventually found the story of the founder, an archaeological foundation that continues to work in Mexico, a man named Thomas Stewart Ferguson, who was a Mormon and a lawyer in California. He never trained in archaeology, but when he was an undergraduate student at UC Berkeley in the 30s, he became really interested in Mesoamerica and how it related to the Book of Mormon. And he particularly became interested in testing some ideas about where the Book of Mormon took place. And so he started this archaeological foundation called the New World Archaeological Foundation that is headquartered in Chiapas even today and is now under the umbrella of BYU, which is the Mormon University in Utah. So Ferguson, went down to Mesoamerica several times to sort of look for these artifacts. Throughout the 50s, he was very optimistic that proof of the Book of Mormon was about to be discovered literally any day. That never happened. It didn't happen during his life, and it hasn't happened since. And, he sort of gradually grew a little disillusioned, it seems like, from his letters, which I read in archives in Utah. Really what the moment of true shift for him was when these Egyptian papyri that Joseph Smith had translated into a scripture called the Book of Abraham were rediscovered at the Met in New York when he hired Egyptologists to translate these texts without telling them anything about what he was hoping to hear back from them. They said, these are authentic ancient Egyptian texts, but they're from the Book of the Dead, which is basically the most common text in that culture. It's in all the graves. So from that, Ferguson, his faith seems to have immediately disappeared. It was totally undermined by this discovery. So what's special about the New World Archaeological Foundation is that from the time it was founded by Ferguson, really, it focused on a region and on a time period that scientists really hadn't been that interested in. And that region is sort of the middle and the Pacific coast of Chiapas. In the northern part of Chiapas, there are amazing Mayan pyramids, beautiful glyphs, beautiful ruins, just incredible cities. But in the center and sort of the southern coast of Chiapas, you don't really get that. This region was particularly important right after 2000 BC. This time period, which is called the formative period, it's right when people start settling down in villages after being hunter-gatherers. But the archaeology, especially compared to the ruins of Maya cities, had been considered not that exciting because it's a lot of earthworks, a lot of very early ceramics. So as this foundation, the NWAF, directed many really large-scale excavation in the 50s and 60s. The key sites are Chiapa de Corzo and Izapa. And thanks to them, we really know a lot about the beginnings of civilization in Mesoamerica and, a region that turned out to be a very interesting crossroads for a bunch of different people.